much better. So, being friends with the enemy, not like enemy thing, but there's quite a few people who think of life in that extreme, and yes, still wearing latex. But there's only so much latex I can wear. I have a nice wardrobe. But anyway, back to topic. So we have a lot of people who, it's either their way or the highway, their point of view, the way they say it, the phraseology, the terminology, everything has got to be the same. Otherwise they just don't get it. I find this very confusing. G'day David. G'day John, how's it going? I hope it's a good day where you guys are. But yeah, I find it very confusing after all. They have, and it's weird because sometimes they will have the right words or definitions, but the way they apply it is really confusing. It's far beyond your normal everyday layman kind of application. And some people I am friends with, they have differing views to me, and some of them are just only slightly different, because I said, look, I believe in this and that, and people goes, I don't do blah, blah. I said, look, I'm quite reasonable. There was one thing, what was it, adoption and abortion and all that sort of stuff, and I was like, look, I don't agree with people just randomly or relying on abortion for contraception. However, I agree that it should be available for some people. Late term abortion, I'm like, well, I don't agree if it's like, it's just the sex of the baby or something like that. And I would agree if it's something like the child is found later, like fairly late in the pregnancy, to have a really, really significant or bad medical condition, which means that they would basically have no life. You would have a potato as a child, and the parents feel that they can't or are not equipped to take care of that child. I know it sounds bad, but you got to look at it this way. It's not just the one life that they're impacting, not just the life of the child, but it's also the life of the parents, the community, the family, all the people that need to support them. Unless people deliberately want to set up an industry to support them, and I'm sure there's millions of dollars in it. I would agree that they should have a choice there. And in Australia we do, and there was a person I knew who had a late term abortion. They went, and there's a process, they went through the doctors, and they had to actually go to court, go to high court, to get approval to have it, because the child was found to be so, like later in the pregnancy, to be so disabled that they would not be able to have a good life at all. And even though I do believe in life, and I'm not strictly pro-life, but I do believe that they've got to have some sort of a life. Otherwise it's just really, really terrible. Like this, I just really can't imagine that. But then I don't have any kids, so yeah, I can't really weigh into it that much, other than from an intellectual level. And that was the choice that this person had, and I would agree with that choice. But I did also ask her her reasonings, and she was like, well, she loves kids, and she was wondering if she could have some again. Plus, she didn't want her child to be a burden on society, because then if something happened to them, what would happen to the child? If they ended up being the only ones taking care of the child, and maybe the stress of the child, they'd break up, so then there'll be only a single parent, and what if that parent died, or the stress of it got too much, and then who would take care of the child then? That's fair enough in her reasoning, and that went through the courts, and that happened. So getting back to the being friends with the enemy, so to speak, it is interesting to talk to people who have different points of views from you. Sometimes only different little ways, sometimes a lot. That doesn't mean that I will dismiss them completely out of hand. It does mean that I will try to have a conversation with them. But if they're proving irrational, I just will go, you know what, I can't deal with you. I don't block them. I just unfollow them because sometimes they can get a bit sort of frenetic, and I just go, you know what, I don't want to see that sort of stuff. You're just too much of, you don't even understand that what you're doing is totally pushing your views and values onto other people, which sounds kind of like some people around World War II. Anyways, so are there people that you're friends with where you don't hold the exact same point of view? Like on some things you agree, some things you disagree. Do you have actual good conversations with that, or do you just try and hit them with facts and morals and emotions? Well, not facts, but facts. Like, have you actually researched the other side of it, or have you just dismissed it as all, oh, there's a conspiracy out there? That's very tinfoil hat, but actually looking at most things, there's at least two sides to every argument. When I was looking up research on the vaping issue, morning Sam, there was a whole lot to do with popcorn lung. Now, I started reading up on it. Yes, it was bad, but then I was thinking, okay, so what is the actual percentage of that chemical that's in there that creates popcorn lung? What's it compared to what's in cigarette smoke? What is it in compared to everyday use? How did this person who had popcorn lung get it? All that sort of stuff. And then I found a study done by the scientists. I can't remember what it was, a long time ago, years ago. It kind of settled it for me. The scientist who said, yes, there is this chemical in vaping fluid. Even the commercial ones, there is it, but it is so minute. It is actually a lot less than cigarette smoke, by 700 to 1,000 times, depending on the smoke brand. And he doesn't agree with the vaping. He doesn't agree it should be used, but it is a whole lot less harmful and a better alternative than the cigarette smoke. So I went, okay, so that's a reasonable decision. He says he shouldn't be putting any of this crap into your lungs in general. And then I did a comparison with the asthma inhalers as well, because a lot of the chemicals that are in the vape fluids are in asthma inhalers and are like the full-on commercial ones, and a lot of the ones that are flavors and all that are actually already FDA approved or approved as food flavors for, I know it's different if you're vaping and all that sort of stuff, but when you think of it, when you're cooking, you're actually putting these flavors into a really hot environment, and you get the smells, and you're going to inhale those smells. Yeah, it's different from the lungs, but you can understand my kind of point of view there. Morning, Sam. But yeah, there's plenty of people who sit there and go, okay, I'll chat to you about this stuff. And when they're getting too, when it becomes not an intellectual debate or conversation, is more of a preachy thing, I kind of check out. I go, you know what, we're going to agree to disagree on this point. So yeah, morning Henrika. Anyway, so have you got people in your life where you agree on a lot of things but disagree on some things, or you agree on a lot of things, or you disagree on a lot of things but you agree on some things? Where's that overlap? What have you discussed? How have you discussed it? Have you talked about it in a kind of, okay, well that's an interesting, I'm going to step back emotionally from that? Or have you tried to bombard them with a lot of emotive arguments? A lot of oh, so you don't, arguments such as, do you care about the environment? General question. Of course, everybody cares about the environment. We live in the world. If you don't care about where you live, that's just crazy. So then they go on to a illogical argument. Well, you've then got to support, say, humans in, whatever cause that they have at this point in time. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. It's crazy. I mean, you get asked a question that's, well, duh. logical. If you're a human being, you're gonna say, of course, well, I think this, and of course I think that, and then they'll use that as a springboard or platform to say, well, then you've got to agree with me or else you're a bad person. I'm like, well, no, I don't have to agree with you at all. I can agree in general the principle that we've got to do things like take care of the environment, but I can disagree with your methods and your own motives for bringing this up, having this argument, or doing what you do. So, yeah. Anyways, what's today? Hump day. Ooh, just a second, I gotta show you this. This is awesome. Look at this fern. Those new fronds. How magnificent is that? Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. And yes, Enrique, try and see things from the other side or different points of view and step outside of yourself for a little bit. You know, don't keep standing on that soapbox. It can be awfully rickety at times. Catch you guys later. Bye.